This is episode number 36 of the Emotional Freedom Podcast. And in today's episode, I want to take a moment to talk very briefly about this book, His Needs, Her Needs. How to Build an Affair-Proof Marriage by Willard F. Harley Jr. So stay tuned. Hello, welcome to the Emotional Freedom Podcast. My name is Luke Bong and I'm the host for the show. I'm an accredited NLP trainer and a clinical hypnotherapist. Now, if this is the first time you are watching this or listening to this podcast, I want to say thank you so much for being here and I hope you are going to enjoy today's episode. Now, I want to talk about marriage. I want to talk about being married. And in particular, how to stay in love, how to make the relationship work. And I just want to start off by saying that this year marks the 17th year that I've been married. I got married fairly young at the age of 24, at a time when a lot of people begin to get married, say later on, like closer to in their 30s, and some people even choose not to get married nowadays. And some people ask me, why do you get married when you are just 24 years old? It's like, that's a bit too young to get married for a guy. And my answer to that was, when you have found the right person, why wait anymore? And up to today, I still strongly and firmly believe in that. But I'm not a naive person, and I know the statistics when it comes to marriage is that there are a lot of marriages that, are headed to a divorce. So I was worried about that as well. And I also wanted to ensure that I was doing the right thing, because last I know, there was no course in school or in the university or in the college that teaches you how to make marriages work. It's funny, right? Because marriages, it's one of the cornerstone of a person's life. And yet, people are expected just to learn by trial and error, and also to make the most that they can out of it. Hopefully it will work, hopefully things will turn out right, and hopefully it is going to give people bliss and happiness and all that. But I wasn't naive. I understood all the challenges that will take place in a marriage, and thankfully I started looking around for solutions. And I went to a bookshop, and this was the book that I found, His Needs, Her Needs. Now, this is a really amazing book. It's a great book, and it has been around for many years, apparently. It was first written in 1986. So that's quite a long time already. But this book is still in print, and it is such a great book. And why did I buy the book? Because as I was flipping through it, one key point in the book really made so much sense to me. And this is what I would like to talk to you and share with you in today's episode. And it really boils down to his needs, her needs. You see, when a man and a woman get married, and nowadays you also have same-gender marriage, same-sex marriages, it's the same thing. It's two different individuals come together. And these two individuals, they are not exactly the same person. Have you ever heard people say opposites attract? And it's very true, because very often, if you are married or if you have a significant other in your life, really think about it. Is your significant other very similar to you or very different from you? Now, in my case, my wife is very different from me. I'm more outgoing. I talk a lot more. I share more openly. I'm like more outgoing, but my wife is the more quiet type. And she's the type that is like, if she has feelings or emotions, she's not so keen to like openly express it. So we have got differences in terms of our personalities, as well as things that we find interesting and all that. But I think that is precisely why we fell in love in the first place. Now imagine I fell in love with someone who is exactly like me. I may not even be able to stand this person. So there is a reason why opposites attract. But just as much as opposite attracts, now opposite can also create friction as well if it is not taken care of properly. Now, what is the number one reason that marriages fail or marriages break down? Before I found the answer, my guess was it was because of out of marriage affairs, or having a third person in the relationships. I used to think that was the number one reason for that. But the latest results, at least in Malaysia, it shows that the number one reason why marriages break down is because of finances. It's because of financial reasons. That was the number one reason being cited for marriages that went towards a divorce. And usually from there, that's when the third party begin to enter into the picture. So I want to talk about how to prevent that from ever happening in your relationship. So we go back to the original point of his needs, her needs. So in a marriage or in any relationship, it takes two people. And both these people are different individuals. They have different upbringing, they have different values, they have different beliefs, they have different things that they like, different things that they dislike. So you get the picture. And when you get two people who are quite different from each other to actually stay together, and they have never ever been trained before how to do this, can you begin to imagine just the type of possibility for conflicts, for friction to happen just by having these two different, people who are so different from one another stay together? And I think a lot of comedy shows or maybe murder mysteries have used this as a basic plot mechanism. So in order to make things work, according to this book, the most important thing is think of love as a bank account. If you have a real bank account in the real world, you have to go, and before you can withdraw any money out of that real bank, you have to first deposit some of your own money into it. And in a relationship, there is a relationship bank. There will be times where you have to make withdrawal. That's times when you are not being a very nice person to live with. And it doesn't cost your partner to feel like, I've made the wrong choice in my life, time to look for someone else. For that to work, you need to have a deposit in a love bank, because there are times when you just have to make withdrawal. It's the same thing with your partner. There are times when your partner will make withdrawal from your love bank. And by that, I mean, that's when the feelings or the emotions that you have towards your lover or your partner gets reduced. There is this, withdrawal being made. And if that love bank, the deposit in the love bank is very little, all it takes is just, one withdrawal and it's end of the story. But if your love bank, you have got lots of deposits inside, then it can withstand the test of time. It can withstand the test and the challenges that will definitely come in any relationships, in any marriages. And when you continue to make withdrawal, you will continue to make deposits so that the relationship can stay healthy and stay strong. So when I read that from the author Willard Harley, I really felt like, wow, that's so amazing. I have never ever thought about relationship as a love bank before. And how do you make these deposits? According to the author, the deposit is made when you do things or when you behave in a way that meet a person's needs. And when you meet that person's needs, you are actually depositing into that love account. See, in any relationship or marriages, you have got two people with two separate types of emotional needs. And the only way for you to meet that person's needs is for you to learn what those needs are and how you can best meet those needs. And when you can best meet those needs, then what happens here is you will be the quote-unquote the perfect partner for that person, and vice versa. I want to share a story that I heard during one of the Toastmasters meeting, I think ages ago that I attended. And this guy was sharing about a story. I think he made that one up, but it was a nice story. Let me share it with you. See, in this town, there was this married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Tan. And Mr. and Mrs. Tan have been married for the past 50 years. So they are like, the talk of the town. People say they are like so lovey-dovey and things like that. So they have this anniversary ritual whereby every anniversary they will go to Mrs. Tan's favorite curry fish head restaurant. So for the 50th time, then they only reserve that restaurant only for their anniversary. Yeah. So for the 50th time, they sat down and they ordered Mrs. Tan's favorite curry fish head. And as the fish head was served in this clay pot and they were about to eat, Mrs. Tan started sobbing. She started crying. And Mr. Tan, of course, was very, very worried. He had a panic attack. It's like, what's wrong, dear? What's wrong, dear? And the wife couldn't speak. The wife was just sobbing. And Mr. Tan immediately searched inside. Did I do anything wrong? Did I cheat on her? No, I didn't. I have been a good husband all these years. So he opened his mouth and asked, dear, what's wrong? This is your favorite curry fish head. We are here every year to celebrate. And this is our 50th year. You should be happy about it. And finally, Mrs. Tan regained her composure. And Mrs. Tan said, dear, in all these 50 years, you never realized that I hated curry fish head. We were here because you love the curry fish head, not me. I hated that. Now, stories aside, I don't know whether you find it sad or you find it funny, but I personally found it to be quite heartbreaking. But the reality is there are a lot of relationships, marriages or cohabitual and all that, whereby people don't even know what is the emotional need of their partner. And when you don't know the emotional needs of your partner, it becomes very difficult for you to satisfy that need. And conversely, how do you help your partner to know what is your emotional need so that your partner can do can press the right button, I'll put it that way, so that you felt as if you have been nourished in that relationship. Now, that is so, so important. So in tomorrow's episode, I will talk a bit more about what are the differences of needs that people have, as well as how you can best meet those needs. So I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to me, watching this today, and I'll see you tomorrow.